All right, hello and welcome to this yoga practice. So this is a great one for prenatal mamas and it uses a few more props than normal. So we've got a big giant ball, which are pretty easy to come by, two small yoga balls, and one coregeous ball. So if you don't know where to get them, you can shoot me an email or look at tuneupfitness.com. Okay, so first we're going to start sitting on the ball. So the balls are really great to have all the way through your pregnancy. You can do so much with the ball. They're so great for labor because you can use them for like a birthing ball. That's what they call them sometimes. And then when you have a baby, it's so great to sit on the ball and bounce your baby. So if you have a fussy baby, you just sit on your ball and just bounce and bounce and bounce, and it's so nice. Okay, so get comfy, sit on your ball. And we're just going to start by moving the pelvis a little bit, side to side. So if you know the flashlight pose that I've taught in previous videos, you'll be familiar with this. But basically, it's just like imagining you have a flashlight in your vagina that you're kind of shining side to side. And so with all of these movements, I want you to just move in the range that feels good in your body. Don't take it too far. Just start with small movements. Side to side, and then we're going to go forward and back. So you're going to roll your pelvis forward and back. And then we're going to add in some more movement. So actually, let's do little circles. So we're going to put together side to side, forward and back, and make little circles. So if you had a flashlight, you would be making a little circle. It's a good visual. And we'll go in both directions, so switch sides. And again, if you're feeling any discomfort, make smaller circles or go back to side or front to back. Always have options. And then we're going to do marching. So hands on the pelvis, and you want to feel like your pelvic floor on the ball, your sitting bones on the ball, and we're going to lift one leg up at a time. So I recommend instead of sitting on a couch when you're pregnant, especially if you're really heavily pregnant, sit on your ball or sit on the floor. Sitting on the couch makes you sit sort of back on your tailbone and just really adds to any discomfort that you may be feeling in pregnancy. All right, so release that, and we're going to take one leg out to the side. So this is kind of like a gate pose that we do. So you're going to feel your leg bone and then just start to rotate the leg bone. So you're sliding on the heel. You're kind of rolling over your heel and loosening any tension that you might have around the joint. And then we're going to add in a little side bend. So we're going to have the sitting bones nice and firmly planted, and then the rib cage is going to tip to the side and just reach down the leg, reach up and over. Just a few breaths here. And then back to the other side. And now a little bit of a forward fold. So hands again on the pelvis, and you're going to tip forward so your pubic bone is closer to the ball. And then either hands on the ground if you have a small ball, or hands on a couple of blocks. So you're just stretching into that inner thigh maybe. You might feel it in both inner thighs. You might feel it in your bum. Don't really want to feel it in the low back because we're moving the pelvis, not moving from the low back. And then come on up, and we'll do the other side. So taking that leg out and just feeling that rotation. So a little bit of movement here. And again, as I said before, you want to move in the range where you're not feeling clunking or clicking or like something sticky. If you're moving into that range, I invite you to go a little bit less and just rotate the leg bone in the way that feels most nourishing. Okay, in everything. If something's clicking or hurting, just back it up a bit. Beep, 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 back up. All right, and then your side bend. So you're going to tip your rib cage, pelvis is stable, slide down and reach over. And then come on back up. And then we're going to tip forward into that little bit of a inner thigh stretch. You might feel it other places. And just remember to soften the upper back. So if you're feeling quite a strain to get this far, then I really would encourage the use of your blocks. And then release that. Come on up. Slide your leg back in. And we're just going to practice that butterfly movement that we do laying down. So you're going to let your leg bones move open and closed. Just a couple times. And then release that. And we're going to move onto the floor just for a minute. So this is where we're going to use these little massage balls. So there's lots of great things you can do with them. And I'll show you a few things that you can do today. So you just need one of them. And you're going to move your big ball out of the way. And you're going to take your ball right underneath your butt cheek, whichever one you want to start with. So this can also be done sitting in a chair, but I don't have a chair, so I'm just going to do it sitting on the ground. So I got my ball right on my butt, and I'm just going to sort of move around and find the place that feels pretty tight. And then I'm just going to sit there. I can move my leg, rotate it around, and then bend your leg so you've got that spot. And you're just going to start to move the leg up and down. And then you're going to move it to a different spot. So we'll spend a couple of minutes just releasing tension through the bum. So oftentimes our butts get really tight. If our butts are really tight, pelvic floor is often really tight too. And obviously we want to encourage a relaxation of the pelvic diaphragm, also known as the pelvic floor, but it's not really a floor at all. Yeah, there's some tight spots there. So we'll just move it around a couple times. You can spend as much time here as you like. You can also do this standing against the wall, rolling out your butt. But I don't have a wall. I have curtains and studs. Want to see? It's like, oh, Wizard of Oz. Okay, other side. So I'm going to start with the legs straight and just find a spot, kind of roll around, and then I'm going to move my leg or rotate it, and then slide it up and just move up and down. So if you find that you're like this and you're really holding on tight, then maybe you've hit a spot that's a little bit too sensitive. So take a break, take a breath, breathe into it, and just stay there for a second. If it's okay, you can keep moving. Excuse me. And then I'm going to find another spot that feels tight and just keep going. So you're always welcome to just stop and hang out in one spot. If you start feeling numb though, then you've gone too far. So we don't want to like get right on a nerve and have numbness. That's not what we're looking for. Not a good thing. Okay, last spot. Just gonna move towards the back of the sitting bone. And then I'm going to come up to standing. So keep your ball with you. We're going to roll out the feet. So maybe I'll stand sideways. Might be able to see better. So I'm going to place the ball underneath the forefoot. And then I'm going to roll side to side. So I'm getting some movement, some inversion and eversion at the ankle joint. Getting some movement through the thigh bone even a little bit here. And then I'm rolling over all of those bones in my toes, those in my forefoot, all those metatarsals. Just kind of rolling over them, finding as much mobility as I can. And you can use as much pressure as feels good for you. So if it's quite tender, then use less. And then we're going to take a minute to kind of roll out the whole forefoot. So you can lift up the heel and just roll in between all of those metatarsals, in between the toes. Then we'll roll out the arch, inside, middle, and outside. Feels good. And then the heel. So you just want to roll your heel around, forward and back, side to side. And then do the whole bottom of your foot. So you're rolling from the heel all the way to the forefoot and then back. And just kind of methodically, I like to picture in my mind all the bones of my foot so that I'm moving the ball in between all of those bones. And then I can even start to roll right onto the toes and just let my toes roll around the ball. And then heel down, ball on the forefoot, and I'm going to step it forward a little bit and stretch out through the calves. So often our calves get so tight from wearing shoes and just general life, so we want to stretch out the calves. All right, and then we'll switch and do the other side. So starting, heel on the ground, forefoot over top of the ball, and then side to side. Make sure that you're moving mostly from the ankle joint here. So not so much from the thigh, but really getting that movement, that side to side movement of the ankle. So I like to try to support movement in all directions, forward, back, rotational, sideways, in all the joints. And then I'm going to roll out the forefoot. And then roll out the arch, forgot what it was called. And then roll out the heel. And then roll out the whole bottom of the foot, from the heel all the way up. In between all the bones. And then the last part is a little bit of a stretch for the calves. So heel on the ground, forefoot over the ball, and just step forward. Lean forward a little bit. Just want to feel that right in the belly of the muscle. And then relax that. And I'm going to use now my coregeous ball. Okay, so this ball is just so great for so many things. I'll show you a couple. So first we're going to do arms overhead. So I'm going to stand with the feet at least hip width apart, shoulders relaxed, and take a sec just to roll your shoulders out a bit. And then I'm going to start to take the arms up overhead, just gently holding the ball, not squeezing it, just holding it. So I'm looking to just mobilize my shoulders and keep my ribs soft. So this is especially important when you're pregnant and you're a little bit looser through your joints. So So often what happens is because we're much more flexible in our lower backs than anywhere else, we tend to take some of these movements, arms overhead, into the lower back. And we don't want to do that. So if you can see how I'm lifting my ribs and I'm kind of jamming up my low back. So instead of doing that, stop when you feel, that actually does not feel good, so don't do that. Stop when you feel tension through the ribs, like you might want to start to lift, but you're going to stop before you actually do lift. And just work in that place. Feels good. And then relax that, and we're going to do a side bend. So a couple ways to do this. If you have enough mobility to take your hands overhead, I need to be a little smaller. I'm going to come down on my knees. If you have enough mobility, you can stay standing, but I'm going to be on my knees. To take your hands overhead without lifting your rib cage and getting into your low back, then do it with both arms. If you don't, then just take one arm down. Keep your hands on your ribs so that you can feel that. And then move into your side bend. If that's causing lots of tension in your upper back and your neck and shoulders, if you tend to get tense through your neck and shoulders, then you're just going to take the ball down to the side and do your side bend that way. And this way the ball can support you, and it's just a little bit easier. So you've got lots of options. One, or that one. So just a couple breaths here in your side bend, standing side bend. That looks like a kneeling side bend. And then up to the side, and then again, other side. And then up, and come on up. Stay standing, and we're going to do a twist with the ball. So gently holding the ball. We're not squeezing it. We're not lifting our shoulders. We're just gently holding the ball. And we're just going to move side to side with the breath. All right. And then you can release that. And we're going to do some squats. So taking the ball between your thighs, so you have a bit of feedback here. Just stand in your feet. Relax your shoulders. We're going to do a couple squats, so narrow leg squats. And you're going to sit back right from the crease of your hips, send your sitting bones back, and then come up. And we'll do that as many times as is comfortable. So anywhere from 2 to 10 times. So the stronger our legs and bum are, the more our pelvic diaphragm can release. So we don't want to hold tension. Our best thing you can do in pregnancy is learn to relax. Learn to relax your pelvic bowl, your pelvic diaphragm, the muscles all around. So this would be a great little practice to do like when you get home from work and you're tired and you just need to move your body. So this will move in all directions. So we're done with that. We're going to come down onto our backs with this little ball. So keep your big ball nearby because you're going to want it. Little ball is going to go in between your thighs again. We're coming into little bridge. So just take a minute to set up with your back relaxed against the ground. Your breath is soft and full. And when you're ready, feet are planted. You're going to start to press your hips up. And then gentle squeezing of the ball as you lift and lower about 1 or 2 inches. So not getting right into the low back. So if you're feeling pain in the low back, then see if you can change your movement or lessen your movement so that you don't feel that. Check in with your breath. If you start to feel dizzy at any time, then just roll over and come up to sitting. So sometimes pregnant women don't like being on their back, and that's totally fine. As long as you're not feeling dizzy or totally out of breath, then you're okay. Okay, then just bring your pelvis up into your highest point. Does not have to be super high, and definitely don't want to be jamming the neck. And then we're going to lift up the heels and lower. Lift and lower. A little squeeze of the ball. And then relax. Take the ball into your hands, and we're going to move the shoulder blades again. So this is a really great movement that I like to do all the time to make sure that my upper body's still pretty relaxed. Neck is relaxed. There's a natural curve in my neck, so I'm not flattening it, just letting that natural curve happen. Shoulder blades lift and lower, lift and lower. And then we're going to take arms overhead. Same as when we're standing, you want to feel the rib cage. Feel if you're flattening your back or tensing up. If you start to get pain in your neck, go less. And just one more. And then you can just take your ball to the side, and you're going to reach for your big ball with your feet. Okay, so here we want to think about not bearing down, not creating a ton of pressure in the pelvic floor. And we're just going to slide the leg away and slide it back. From here, you can also add in some rotations, which is really great. Nice relaxed position for that. You could even just start to lift your leg up if that feels okay. So just play with that, with how that feels in your body. You need to have all kinds of movements to stay healthy and strong. I got some blocks down there, but that's okay. I'm just gonna push them out of the way. So thinking about a connection between the ribs and pelvis. So we're not flattening the back, we're tensing the shoulders, and then I'll do a couple rotations of my upper leg bone. And that's it. And then I'm going to roll up. So I'm going to come to my side and roll up. And the last thing we're going to do with the ball is the side lying release. So if you have a pillow or blanket, you can use that. You don't need one. So side lying release is really important because when our upper rib cage is overly tight, it can lead to tightness elsewhere in the body. So tightness in the pelvis, tightness in the pelvic diaphragm, soreness in the upper body too. So we really want to nourish this side bend and this expansion through the rib cage. So when we start to release the rib cage, we can breathe more easily. So when we breathe, think about how you've got your pelvic floor diaphragm, you've got your diaphragm for breathing. So they can move together. If we allow our breath to move all the way down to our very depths, we can move pelvic diaphragm and your diaphragm together, which is lovely. So that's about 75% of your breath comes from these diaphragms. And then the other 25% is your rib cage. So that expansion of your rib cage. So the rib cage expands like side to side and it expands front to back. And it's really common, so it's like a big 3D breath. It's really common for people to not breathe into their rib cage and to have most of their breath go into the belly and totally bypass the pelvic diaphragm. So we want to encourage and nourish this breath, that's full body breath, that is this opening and softening of the rib cage. And so we can have all these movements side to side and twisting without pain and be able to move in all directions. So we're going to maybe we won't revisit, but doing the pelvic floor breath that we covered in the foundations class on the ball is fantastic because you have lots of feedback from the ball and you can really start to soften the pelvic floor, pelvic diaphragm, and breathe in all the way down into your deepest part of your body. Okay, sideline release. So this ball is quite it's not firm, but you can see it's got a lot of air in it. So if you're really tight in your rib cage, you want to take half that air out. So you just take off the thing and just push it, let some air out, and then put the little plug back in. It's super easy. That's why I love these balls. Okay, so when you lay down, you're going to have the ball right underneath your rib cage, and you're going to lay on your side, so your hips and shoulders and head are lined up, and then you can take your head onto the pillow. You don't need to have a pillow. You can also just have it on the ground, as long as that feels okay on your neck. And then you just breathe here. So I've worked with lots of people that get here and they're like, I cannot breathe here. This is terribly painful and it sucks. So then I would say, come up and take out some air. So even if you're having, even if you have the tiniest little bit of air and you have a sad deflated ball, that's okay. You want to take it slow. And if you do this regularly, your rib cage will become more supple. It's just a fact. So I just find that this giant pillow is a little bit too high for me, but it's not super comfy with my head on the floor. So you can add in movements here if you like. Certainly don't have to. But you can start to move your shoulder blade by rolling your hand away. You can even add in some sagittal plane movements of the arm bone, because this way you can really feel when you start to use your ribs. And at any time, if it becomes too much, just come off. So I'm just going to take one more breath here, and then I'm going to switch it up to the other side. So a couple of things that I did not mention is, one is if your boobs are quite sore, then have the ball to the side, and you can just kind of roll so that you're not squishing your boob, and that's okay. We don't want to cause more pain. I'm going to use this instead. And then to the other side. So I like to do this one every day for a couple minutes, or even longer. Sometimes I come home from school and I have a little bit of time in the afternoon, so I just lay on this ball for 10 minutes. And definitely, you may notice that you have one side that's way tighter than the other. Totally normal. And just feel what's happening. Sometimes when we're in the sideline position, our inner thighs want to help out, and they're really gripped. So just notice that. Just notice your neck. Notice how your organs feel, your shoulders, your jaw. And then when you're ready, use your arms and press yourself up to sitting. So there is another way that you can use the ball that I'll just cover real quick, is to do a little bit of a back bend. So you're going to come up, and then as you lay down, the ball is just going to go in between your shoulder blades. So you can just place it there as you lay down, and then head down. So if you need more support under your head, just add that. And this can feel great, especially if you feel like you can't get a full breath, like your baby's just taking up so much space. This can feel really great. I find usually more than half of the women in my classes love this pose, and then the others just skip it. So totally optional. And then I'm going to come on up. You can welcome to stay as long as you like, as long as you're comfortable. So roll to your side and press up with your arms. Don't come up with your abs, please. Not a great thing. Okay, so that is our balls practice. So if you need some help tracking one down, just shoot me an email. Otherwise, enjoy. Good night.